is going on, Roblox, and welcome back to another video. You guys have spoken and I have listened. I have spent the last week understanding this game and learning it from the inside out. I am no stranger to MMO games like this. I'm looking at you, WoW and Skyrim, never trying to have me leave my house. I see you. And the game is based off of One Piece, which you guys know I'm a huge anime fan, so naturally I was sucked into this game right away. This game is gigantic. It has hundreds of hours of gameplay, hundreds of different types of abilities, and the game is just super fun to play. I promise that after watching this video, you're gonna understand how Blox Fruits works, what kind of fruits that you're gonna be using, and the best way to grind out levels. So here are 7 necessary pro tips that if you're not using, you need to start using them. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump right into this. Okay, so most of you guys watching this video are probably in the first sea, and the first sea just basically means you're in the first world because there are 2 more after this. So the first thing that every player is wondering is which fruit should I use and what's the best one for grinding out levels? Because let's be honest, you guys want to do this as fast as possible. I mean, unless of course you want to do this the slowest way possible, then I guess this video is probably not for you. But let's just assume it is and you guys want to grind out levels fast. Okay, so let me explain how this works really quickly here. So this game works on essentially 3 levels. You got your Blox Fruit, you got your fighting style, and then you got your weapon. So you can only have 1 Blox Fruit, 1 fighting style, and 1 weapon equipped at any given time. There's a lot of good fruits that do a lot of good things, but there are some fruits that are better for grinding. It just kind of depends on what your play style is. Okay, so for example, say you want to use a fighting style and a fruit at the exact same time. You want to pick a fruit that doesn't have a lot of knockback, because if they get knocked back, you're not gonna be able to hit them afterwards. So the player's not 100% sure where the enemy lands, so you can't pummel them with damage. But if you just want to have a fruit that has really cool looking abilities, then by all means, don't even worry about the knockback because everything looks awesome. Because here's the thing, guys, every time you use an ability, it has a cooldown to wait to use it again. So if you don't have a fighting style to switch to while your abilities are on cooldown, you're gonna be waiting a long time, which is gonna be wasting the grinding process. Unless, of course, you have a fruit like Light or Ice that comes with its own melee weapon, then you don't really have to worry about that. But let's just say for the sake of this video that you don't. So the first part of this tip, everybody, is understand what fruit you have and see if you need to have a fighting style or a sword to go along with it, if it has long cooldowns or something like that. Because you don't want to be the guy that's running around waiting for your next cooldown ability. But if I had to pick my absolute favorite, I would probably pick a Logia fruit because you do not take any melee damage. And the Logia fruits are Smoke, Flame, Ice, Sand, Dark, Light, Magma, and Rumble. And just to be clear, everybody, in order for the no melee damage thing to work, you do have to be the same level as the NPC that you're fighting. So if you're a brand new player who just started playing this game, the best way to grind levels is not die. So all you gotta do is worry about completing your quest and not dying, because all these guys don't have any elemental damage, so you're good. And if you guys don't like the combat style, because it sucks, obviously, you could go talk to this guy right here and grab yourself a sword. And don't worry, there's a lot of other styles that you guys can equip in this game, but we're not gonna talk about in this video. All right, next up, everybody, is skill points. Now, skill points are very important because it determines on what your character is gonna be good at. So for example, if you guys have those fruit that we just talked about, the ones that you don't take melee damage, you are not gonna put anything into defense to start out your game. If you guys are using a sword, obviously put it into sword. You're not using a gun, don't even worry about this. Essentially, in the very first sea, everybody, you're pretty much gonna focus mainly on melee, defense, and your Blox Fruit. So as you guys can see, every time I put a point into defense, I get +5 health. And every time I put a point into melee, I get a little bit more energy. Now, there's gonna be a lot of you that just wanna dump all of your points into Blox Fruits, and that is totally okay. But remember, if you don't have enough points in your melee, you won't have enough energy to do things like dodge attacks, double jump, and do that sort of thing. So keep that in mind. If you guys are using a Logia fruit, like I mentioned earlier, I would recommend putting all your points into melee and Blox Fruit, because all you're gonna have to focus on is killing people as fast as possible. Because every time your Blox Fruit abilities are on cooldown, you can switch over to your combat style and beat them up. And here's another thing to keep in mind, everybody. Your stats are not permanent. Once you place them, they're not set in there forever. You can reset them as many times as you want, but every time you do it, it does cost you 75 Robux. Because there is certain bosses that are only hurt by Blox Fruit's attacks, but you don't gotta worry about that until later. And I'm sure by now you guys have been doing a bunch of YouTube on what Blox Fruit is actually the best for grinding, and a lot of you guys have probably heard the Buddha Fruit is the best. And let me explain why people think Buddha Fruit is the best. Let me show you this real quick. So, Buddha Fruit's great. It really only has one ability because everything else over here is pretty much terrible. So essentially what makes this fruit so good is that you transform and you actually get huge. The only downside is that every ability besides transformation on this fruit is terrible. So you're gonna wanna have some sort of fighting style or sword equipped so that you can switch to that when you're inside the Buddha form. Because as you guys can see, I'm pretty far away from these guys and I'm still able to hit them. They gotta walk all the way over to the character in order to deal damage. So by the time they get there, they're probably dead in the first place. Or you can equip a sword with the Buddha fruit because you have a lot more range with it. So therefore, it makes it really good for grinding because the NPC can't get close to you and your hitbox is absolutely massive. So you can kill multiple kill NPCs without actually having to move that far. So as you can see, the Buddha fruit is a great fruit for grinding. But with that said, everybody, it does have drawbacks. If you need to fight enemies that are further away, this fruit is a lot slower than other fruits. And speed here, everybody, is the name of the game, because if you can't get to your NPCs fast enough to kill them, then it really doesn't matter what fruit you're using. And we'll talk about in another video, because it actually takes a whole bunch to explain, but why Buddha fruit is not the best fruit for grinding. So make sure you're subscribed for that one. The next thing we're going to talk about here is PvP, and this is going to be a very short segment, because guess what? Keep your PvP flag turned off. Because let's be honest, in the beginning of the game, you're not going to be going around beating a bunch of players up. You're going to be grinding out your levels and getting your mastery up. Because if you're going to be playing this game long term, trust me, there is plenty of time to do that later. So let's go ahead and leave PvP alone until you learn this game a little bit more, because there are different fighting styles and different fruit that are actually better for PvP. Now let's move on to the next one. So you have some extra Robux and you want to buy some game passes, but you're not 100% sure which ones that you should be buying, because you've heard about the fruit notifier, you've heard about the mythical blade, and all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you guys something right now. The only two game passes you should worry about right away is the 2x money and the 2x mastery, because let's be honest, getting something 2x faster is always better. There's a lot of weapons, a lot of mastery, a lot of fruits, and definitely a lot of things you got to buy in this game. So having 2x anything is going to be a massive help in the long run. And speaking of massive help, the other thing that's going to help you grind faster in this game is getting 2x experience. But the thing is, with 2x experience, it actually does cost Robux. So you can get 15, 1 hour, 6 hours, whatever, but it costs you Robux per time you want to do it. Luckily, there's a lot of codes that can help you guys out with this. As you guys can see right here, there are a bunch of codes that give you 20 minutes of experience, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, all sorts of good stuff for double XP. I'll link this in the comments below for you guys as well. But yeah, all you guys have to do is click on the little Twitter icon here, type in whatever code you want, like free stuff forever, and then click on try, and if the code's right, it'll apply and give it to you right away. All right, so now we're going to talk about enchantments, abilities, and auras. When you guys are in the first world, you want to make your way to the frozen village, and as you guys can see, it's just across the way here from the jungle. All right, so you're going to make your way over this way here. So once you guys get to the island, you're going to climb up this way here, you're going to jump up this way, and you're going to make your way to this little cave right here. Go inside the cave, and there's this guy over here that's just hanging out next to this fire. So when you click on this, you guys want to click air jump, and I think air jump is 10,000 bucks. You want to learn that, and that allows you guys to jump multiple times in the air and not have to worry about getting hit by NPCs. Very, very useful ability. Next thing you're going to click on is you're going to click on aura, and trust me, you're going to want to have aura, because a lot of bosses are physical resistant, so you're going to have some sort of elemental damage to add to your abilities. And the good thing is, everybody, these things are pretty cheap. I mean, air jump's only 10,000, and the aura ability is only 25,000. Okay, the next thing we're going to quickly talk about is using these maps that show up in certain zones. So it shows you what level that you should be each time you want to go to a new zone. So keep that in mind when you're trying to jump around between worlds, because sometimes it's not the best choice. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is bosses. And let me tell you something. Bosses are pretty useful because they give you a lot more experience than just regular quests. So as you guys can see, with this particular quest, I get 150,000 experience for killing 8 snowmen. But if you go to the boss quest, like the Yeti, for example, I'm getting 220,000 XP. And like I said before, you only have to kill one of them in order to get this much XP. So if you're fast and good with your abilities, you should be able to get rid of these bosses pretty quickly. Now, the only downside of those bosses is you can go back to the quest guide and you can get the quest again. However, to respawn a boss actually costs 50 Robux inside the store. But instead of having to respawn the boss and paying that every single time, you guys can actually swap between servers, and there's a good chance that that boss is alive in your new server. So you just have to decide on what you can do faster. Can you kill these NPCs fast enough so they would make sense for you to stay here and just grind on them? Or would it make more sense to jump to a new server and keep killing that boss over and over again? It's completely up to you and how strong your character is. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about is getting the right fighting style. And obviously, as you guys know, the combat style is absolutely terrible. There's only 2 abilities, and no one's going to use those in the first place. So if you guys are using Buddha fruit or another fruit that's going to require you guys to have a fighting style or a sword, you guys are going to want to come to Pirate Village. And you guys get here pretty early on in the game, because at level 30, it's actually only the 3rd island you guys get to. So it's pretty sweet. So if you follow me over this way, you're going to make your way past this way here. You're going to make your way over this way, and you see this little weird looking thing. It looks kind of like a door. Well, it is. So you guys can walk in there, and there's a secret guy here that can teach you Dark Step. Already know this? Would you like to learn it? Yeah, let's learn it right here. So now you guys have the Dark Step ability, and you guys know how combat was pretty terrible. It had like one move that was pretty good, and like you'd never use it in the first place. Well, Dark Step actually has 4 abilities. It has a jump move like this. It has a breakdancing move where you can hit multiple enemies, and it even has a barrage attack. Let me show you guys how this works here. So we can go like this, boom, and I don't have it unlocked yet, but it actually has one more mastery level called Overheat that does massive damage as well. So yes, obviously Dark Step is a much better fighting style than combat. So if you guys are needing something like this, trust me, you're going to want to go grab that as quickly as you can. I'm also going to show you guys what I think the best grinding fruit is in this entire game, and I'm going to explain why it's better than Buddha. Anyways, everybody, if this video helped you guys out, make sure you guys hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, because we're going to be doing a lot more of these in the future. So be ready for that. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.